Kendrick Perkins. Big Perk, that is now the official list. That's now going to be considered the 5 greatest athletes of all time. If you would like to register any complaints, the court will hear you now.
Well, that's your official list. And look, you know what? I really don't have a lot of complaints on it except for one. And no disrespect to the great Muhammad Ali, because he did a lot on and in the boxing ring and outside of the boxing ring. But I got to put Floyd Mayweather in there. We're talking about a guy who mastered the sport of boxing, who went undefeated, who never lost. And I think, Max, a lot of people don't give him credit because he's not the quote-unquote people's champ, but he's the champ, okay? And so I think sometimes we overlook Floyd Mayweather because, you know, he does things his way and not, you know, the way that people want him to do it.
He's one of the greatest pure boxers ever. But, you know, like in the NBA, for example, you didn't get to pick and choose who you played. Whoever's in the winner bracket, you got to play that team.
Max,
Floyd,
don't start
Floyd
that.
has a great resume, and you cannot compare it to Muhammad Ali's in terms of who fought who in their prime. By the way, Sugar Ray Robinson had 130-plus fights before his second career loss. 130. And his first loss was to a middleweight, all-time great Jake LaMotta, when Robinson was still a welterweight, and Robinson beat him 5 other times. Don't make me go into boxing history. Look, I have to ask you this, Perk, because you've played with a GOAT-level player in LeBron. He's mounted a serious challenge to the consensus around Michael Jordan. So spill the beans. What's it like to be in the huddle in practice and on the floor with a guy like that?
You know what? You take it for granted. You know, just being around a guy like a LeBron James, you know, every day, watching him put in the work, watching him put in hours on the basketball court in the weight room, and then go and shoot a 3-hour commercial and getting treatment around the clock. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting on the sideline because that was at the point of my career where I was collecting splinters, you know, in my butt. But at the end of the day, LeBron was doing something special. And now that I'm retired, I wish I would have cherished those moments a little bit more. Just being able to be a part of that, being able to be a part of him reaching milestones and things to that nature.
I want to ask you something about something that happened last night. It involves the GOAT shooter. No one questions Steph is the GOAT shooter. He's been mired in the worst shooting slump of his career. Unless the fate of the universe is on the line, then I want Iguodala. But in the third quarter, the Rockets' Kevin Porter Jr. decided to chirp right in Steph's ear, and Curry ignited after that. 21 in the fourth quarter. That's the most ever in a regular season fourth quarter for him, sealing the 122-108 win. Perk, here's the question. What was Kevin Porter Jr. thinking?
You know what? I actually like this, though, Max. And look, I understand, you know, Steph torched him after that, but I actually like young players, you know, accepting the challenge and noise talking. Because ain't you one of those old school guys that said, hey, you want to get back to, you know, old school type basketball with your trash talking? People used to talk trash talk with Michael Jordan. People used to hard foul Michael Jordan. I'm not comparing Steph to Michael Jordan, but when you talk about all-time greats, he ranks up there with the best of them. But I'm saying I applaud Michael Porter Jr. I'd rather him be a competitor than a fan on the floor. I go to war with Michael Porter Jr. any day. Now, he did get torched. Steph did put him over his lap and give him a spanking. We're not going to debate that. But here's the thing. I actually embrace Michael Porter Jr. of saying this is a competition, and when we get between those lines, I'm not a fan of yours. We're competing.
I'm totally with you on that, Perk. The one thing is, in the words of Jay-Z in The Takeover, people get that takeover ether thing a little twisted, by the way. Jay did his thing. When don't bark up that tree will fall on you, right? Like, if you're going to talk, you got to be ready for what's coming. When Jordan was a puppy, he talked to Larry Bird and gave him 63 at Boston Garden in the playoffs. Like, you know, if you're going to talk to someone like Steph, then he can't go for 21 in the fourth on you. Well, right
Max,
or wrong?
He couldn't do nothing about it, but you still love the competitive nature that he brought to the table.
What do you know? You're just an NBA champion. Meantime, I like to watch basketball. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.